Hi everyone, my name is Cindy Gorlitz and I will be your presenter today. This session is an introductory session and is designed to give you an overview of Knovel. For those of you that are new to Knovel, this will help to get you started. For those that have already had the chance to try Knovel, I hope to provide some useful tips. I'd like to start by providing you with a brief overview presentation of Knovel. Knovel is a web-based application integrating technical information with analytical and search tools which drive innovation and deliver answers engineers can trust. How do we do this? We do this by integrating three key elements, which are reliable and validated content, optimized searching capabilities, and interactive data analysis tools. What does this all mean? That is what I'd like to show you today. At the end of this session, you should feel comfortable with these four Knovel concepts. You should be able to browse Knovel subject areas to look at our high-quality content. Engineers, scientists, and chemists turn to this content for its relevance and reliability on a daily basis. You should understand how to easily navigate and search Knovel to get quick, reliable answers to complete your projects using the optimized searching capabilities. You should be able to use Knovel's interactive tools to manipulate and apply the data you find. I think most engineers would agree that finding the data is only part of the battle. Repurposing that data and getting it into a format you can use is just as challenging. And you should understand how to personalize Knovel, allowing you to save and organize titles, valuable searches, and useful content for quick recall and collaboration using My Knovel. So let's get started. I'm going to jump over to the internet. Here we are on the home page in Knovel. The first thing you notice is the streamlined interface. It is very search-centric, with the basic search bar displayed prominently front and center. In the upper left, there are tabs for Home, Browse, and Tools. In the upper right, you see tabs for Support Center, My Knovel, as well as your user authentication. We will look at these in a few minutes. Before we jump into the searching capability, I would like to highlight Browse. In Browse, you see a list of subject areas on the left, which include Chemistry and Chemical Engineering, Civil Engineering and Construction Materials, General Engineering and Project Administration, Mechanics and Mechanical Engineering, and Safety and Industrial Hygiene, to name a few. The subject areas that are not part of your subscription will be grayed out with a lock icon, as shown here with my textile subject area. On the right side of the Browse page, you'll find Knovel Messaging and Engineering Cases in the upper right, with premium offerings just below that. To browse a specific subject area, just select it, such as Chemistry and Chemical Engineering. Near the top center, I see the subject area name, and to the right of that, I can select See Description to display a description of the subject area. And I'll close it. The topics within the subject area are listed as facets on the left. I'm currently looking at titles in all topics, but I'm interested in general references, so I'll select it. While viewing general references, you see at the top center, I can choose to view it sorted by date published, which I'll select, or alphabetically A through Z. I also have the option to filter the list based on all content or my subscription. I'll select YAWS Critical Property Data for chemical engineers and chemists. On the right, I can view the table of contents. On the left, I see the book's cover and title. Below that are two buttons. I could save this book to My Knovel by selecting the Save to My Knovel button, but you'll notice that it tells me I already have it saved. I can select the Citation button to create a citation if I use bibliographic management tools and export it to various formats. Below the buttons, we see the description, along with author, publisher, copyright information, and more. I'm going to scroll back to the top of the screen, and I can dive into any chapter or section by simply selecting it. You'll notice along the top there's a breadcrumb trail which I can use to navigate through. You'll notice this breadcrumb trail as a navigation tool throughout the product. I can go back to the Browse page, view all chemistry and chemical engineering, or just general references. Let's go back to the Home tab and explore the power of Knovel's searching capabilities. As I said earlier, the basic search bar is front and center. It is also worth noting that wherever I go in Knovel, the search bar is available to me. You can see a variety of different search examples are being cycled through in the search bar. This serves as a guide on how I can structure my searches if I'm not sure. I can search by CAS registry number, author, for a phrase by putting multiple words inside quotation marks, as well as wildcard searches. I'm looking for information on 1045 steel, so I'll type 1045 steel in the search bar. Knovel's search has been completely redesigned. For example, when you enter multiple terms into the search bar to determine relevance when delivering results, the search engine first searches the terms as an exact phrase, then as a proximity search, which is within 10 words on a page, and finally with Boolean and I'll execute the search. You can see the search results for 1045 steel on the right. On the left, I have faceted content types. I can view all content types or focus on specific ones, such as text sections, interactive tables, conference proceedings, and interactive graphs. This is very useful as it allows you to identify what type of content exists in your search results and navigate to specific content types if desired. You can also differentiate the content types by the flag that appears with each result. The flag colors are different for each type of content. We see blue for text sections and dark green for interactive tables. If I only want to view interactive graphs, I can select the interactive graphs facet and I view only that type of content. You'll notice the flags for graph are a light green. I'm going to select text sections to view text results. As I scroll through my results, I see results from the Heat Treaters Guide and the Atlas of Time Temperature Diagrams for Irons and Steels. I see AISI 1045 Medium Carbon Steel from the Alloy Digest. You'll notice that each result has a snippet of information. Notice the snippet for this text section shows a brief portion of that book section. It can be expanded by selecting more, and you'll notice that my search terms for 1045 and steel are highlighted throughout the snippet, and selecting less will collapse it again. The snippet is different depending on the type of content you're looking for. The See More results from this title allows me to view additional results within this title. Selecting it again will hide them. I could also conduct a search within this title. Towards the upper left, I will save this search to my Knovel. And we'll talk more about my Knovel towards the end of the session. I'll go ahead and select the result labeled AISI 1045 Medium Carbon Steel. And it is opened in Knovel's own web-based PDF viewer. You stay inside Knovel when you view PDF content. This eliminates any dependency from external PDF viewers. Notice that my search hits are highlighted. So 1045 and steel are highlighted throughout this page. In the upper right, you'll notice an up and down arrow. This allows me to view the previous or next occurrence of my search term. So if I select the down arrow, it takes me to the next page that includes 1045 and steel. You have tools towards the upper left to view the table of contents. I can zoom in, zoom out, fit to page, exit reading view, and save this to my Knovel, which will save a link to this section in my Knovel. There is also an options button where I have the ability to share the URL, create a citation, download this section, or print it. In the lower right, you can find shortcuts that are supported in the viewer. I'll use the breadcrumb trail along the top to get back to my initial search results for 1045 steel. When looking at results, in the upper right, I have the capability to do a search within the displayed set of results. In this example, I'm looking for strain amplitude of 1045 steel. So I'll conduct a search for strain amplitude and execute the search. The new results are for strain amplitude within 1045 steel, as shown in the breadcrumb trail. When I save this search, it will save the search strain amplitude within 1045 steel as my query. You'll also notice in the breadcrumb trail, I can go back to my results for search for 1045 steel. In this case, I'm looking for graphical information, so I'll select the Interactive Graphs facet. This indicates that there is graphical information in the resource, and Knovel has made that data interactive. The first result is an interactive graph titled Strain Life Behavior of Medium Carbon Steel as a Function of Hardness. It's from the Atlas of Fatigue Curves. We see a snippet of information which includes the table's column headings. I'll go ahead and select the result. It takes me to a table, and you'll notice cells containing my search term are highlighted. We have steels, 1045, strain amplitude, and steel. If I want to view the graph as it appears in the resource, I can select the View Text link. I'll go ahead and select the Graph Digitizer icon on the right to work with the graph interactively. What we see here is one of Knovel's interactive tools called a Graph Digitizer. It shows the strain life behavior of medium carbon steel as a function of hardness, as well as the resource at the top center. Below that, we have a graph displaying various curves. The x-axis represents reversals to failure, while the y-axis represents the strain amplitude. I see that this graph is for 1045 steel and contains 5 different hardness curves. I want to extract data from the 225 Brinell hardness curve. In the upper left is our How to Use section, which is a quick help on how to use a graph digitizer. Below that are the callouts for both the x and the y axes. I also have the ability to change my significant digits for both x and y. Towards the lower left, I'll define the curve label as 225 hardness Brinell, and then add points to the 225 curve. So I simply digitize along the curve to get the points, and you'll notice the table on the left is being populated with these values. I decide I want to compare the results of the 225 hardness Brinell curve with the 595 curve. To do that, in the lower left, I can select New Curve. I'll define this curve label as 595 hardness Brinell, and now add points to that particular curve. And again, we see the tables being populated. If I want to save this graph in its current state, Knovel allows me to do so within my Knovel. I can use the Actions drop-down in the upper right to add to my Knovel. I can also use the Actions drop-down to export or print my results. I can export the information, which is either the data, which is our table, or the graph. And I can do each of them to various formats. In this case, I'll export the data to Excel. Here we see a spreadsheet that includes the graph's name, as well as the values for my points for the 225 hardness Brinell and the 595. I can now share this information with colleagues or the customer. If they ask where the data came from, you'll notice at the bottom we include the title and publisher copyright information. I'll go ahead and close this spreadsheet, and in the Actions drop-down I can also print the results. I can print all of it, just the data or the graph. I'll go ahead and print all, just so that you can see everything. And again, we get the name of our table. We get our results for our 225 as well as our 595 Hardness-Brinell curve. We see the actual graph with our points, and again, the resource title and copyright publisher information at the bottom. I'll close the print page and the graph tab and return to Knovel's homepage. Now that I've shown you basic search, let's take a look at the new wizard-like data search, which can be found just below the basic search bar. Data search is the perfect place to search for materials or substances, the perfect place to search for properties, or a combination of both. Data search searches for information in Knovel's interactive content, such as graphs like the one I just showed you, equations, and tables. Before I dive into data search, I'd like to point out that we have contextual help in strategic places throughout the product. Clicking the question mark in the upper right gives you quick start help on the feature or function you're in, and also links you to the support center for more detailed information and video tutorials. But more on that later. Along the top of the data search query builder, you have the option of keying in a material or substance name and property information down the right side. In the material or substance name area, you see examples of what you can search for. This includes CAS registry numbers, material or substance names, molecular formulas, specifications, even UNS numbers can be entered here. On the right side of the query builder, I see property categories. When you expand the headings, you see the searchable properties. So if I expand creep properties, it displays creep stress and stress to rupture. I'll also expand flexural properties to see the various flexural properties available. I want to look for argon's thermal conductivity when its density is greater than 0.12 pounds per cubic feet. So I'm going to search for a material or substance name is equal to argon. You'll notice at the bottom there's a yellow button. This lets me know that there are 314 results relevant to argon. If I wanted to view the results, I could go ahead and select the button to display them. Since I'm also interested in argon's density, in the property field, I'll start to type density, and the list is filtered. When I see the property I wish to search for, I can drag and drop it onto the query builder. Because the density is a numeric property, you'll notice there's a drop-down with operators such as exists, is equal to, or you can conduct numeric range searches such as less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or is between. I'll set the density to is greater than or equal to 0.12 and define my units as pounds per cubic feet. My result preview at the bottom now shows there are 16 results relevant to my search criteria. I'll also add thermal conductivity exists to my search query, but this time I'll add it by double-clicking the property. The results for argon plus my density requirement and thermal conductivity exists are 3 results, as shown by my yellow button at the bottom. I'll go ahead and select the results to view them. You'll notice in my facets, I only have interactive content, in this case, interactive tables. I see various results for argon. I'm interested in argon as a gas, which is shown in the 3rd result. I see a snippet for the table, which is its column headings. I see temperature and density columns, and I can scroll to the right to see additional column headings found in this table, including my 2nd property of thermal conductivity. I'll go ahead and select the table to open it. You'll notice my search terms of density and thermal conductivity are highlighted. Towards the upper left in the toolbar, I can save this table to my Knovel, which I'll do. I can view the table notes and export it. On the far right, it shows that I'm looking at rows 1 through 17 of my 17 results, from a table of 62 rows of data. You'll also notice other properties included in this table, such as enthalpy, entropy, specific heat, and more. Since I'm interested in thermal conductivity and density, I'd like to move the thermal conductivity column next to the density column, so I can drag and drop it by selecting on the column heading. I can also sort the density column by selecting the down arrow to the right of the column heading and select sort ascending or descending. Using the Export button in the toolbar, I can export this table to various formats. In this case, I'll export it to Excel. I'll quickly maximize my column widths. I get a spreadsheet with my results, including the resource's title, table name, the density and thermal conductivity of argon, and as always, the resource and publisher copyright information at the bottom. Data search is the place Knovel users can go to search for materials, properties, or a combination of both. I'm going to close my Excel spreadsheet and return to Knovel's homepage by selecting Home in the breadcrumb trail. Now let's take a look at the Support Center, which you'll find in the upper right. On the left, we have help for basic search, data search, facet filters, My Knovel, and more. I'll select basic search. We have a description, a video, as well as technical tips. On the right, we have information regarding contacting Knovel's technical support group, including live chat, a telephone number, and email. The last thing that I'd like to show you is My Knovel. With My Knovel, you can create a personal profile to organize your favorite titles, frequently used search queries, and the content you need for your projects. With Knovel's sharing feature, you can create shared folders for workgroup collaboration with other Knovel users. On the left, I have a My Folder section, and I have folders for chem engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and a project folder. Just above that, under New Folder, is where I can create new folders. Anything new I add to My Knovel goes into the Unfiled Items, which is what we're currently viewing. You'll see my folders are segregated by titles, saved searches, data searches, saved content, and saved interactive content. I can now easily re-execute one of my searches by simply selecting the link, or open content by selecting the appropriate link. In this case, I'll select the link for my saved interactive content. It takes me back to the graph digitizer showing the points that I had defined. I can easily remove, modify, or add points and then resave the graph. I'll go ahead and close that. I'll highlight the strain amplitude within 1045 steel search. You'll see I have functions for email, which allows you to email this option, share this item, which allows you to post the item to your Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn account, and I also have tools for move, copy, and delete. I'll select my civil engineering folder. In the upper right, I can move it, which allows me to nest a folder within another folder. I can also rename, delete, and share it. Share folder is the ability to share a folder with others. To do this, I select Share Folder. I then can key in the email addresses of colleagues I want to share this folder with. I can assign them read-only access or full access. I can then key in a message like, "We'll be using this for Project 1011," and select the Invite Users button. The invited users will get an email saying that you would like to share this folder with them. If they accept the invitation, they will see my civil engineering folder under their shared folders section, like the one I have here for mechanical engineering. When I select it, it shows me that this folder is being shared by 3 users. If I select 3 users, I can see everyone who has access to this data. I see that Rick is the owner of this folder. Rich and I, along with Rick, can view this folder, and we can add information to this folder. If you're working in a workgroup environment, this is a great way to share information. If I get transferred off the project and no longer need access to this information, I can select the Leave Group button. I'll just close this. I also have a pending folders section. This means that someone has invited me to share their folder, and I have not yet accepted the invitation. I'm going to jump back to my presentation. Knovel is brought to you with a fresh, streamlined look and feel. It was designed in collaboration with engineering users and designed with simplicity and finding answers quickly as the primary goals. The search-centric user interface with basic search persistent throughout the product is one of the first things you notice. When you dive a little deeper, you see faceting in both browse and in your search results. The ability to search within a set of results, an internal PDF viewer, data search with a wizard-like user interface, My Knovel with shared folders, as well as Knovel Support Center. Knovel, know more, search less.